I want to start off by saying that this will be a quick, spoiler-free, general review of my personal experience and playthrough of the game Returnal. All featured gameplay is from that playthrough. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please drop a like if you enjoy, and subscribe if you're new. This was a very ambitious and interesting title released by Sony. Returnal is a third-person shooter roguelike game developed by Housemarque and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. You play as a deep space scout named Selene, who works for a corporation known as Astra. While on a mission, she receives an incoming signal from a weird broadcast codenamed White Shadow. She goes against her orders and begins to track this signal despite danger warnings from her ship, Helios. While following this signal, Helios is struck by lightning, which causes her to crash and land upon a planet known as Atropos. Over time, through collecting audio logs she's recorded in previous lifetimes and seeing her dead body over and over again, she realizes she has become stuck in a time loop and she must struggle to unravel the mystery of it all within an ever-changing world. Already within the opening cutscene, I was pleasantly taken aback by the haptic feedback within the DualSense, and that's kind of where I want to start, on the haptic feedback and 3D audio, because those are some of the most prominent and important features of Returnal. You can feel the raindrops through the controller right off the bat. Shooting in this game is very satisfying on the DualSense. The haptic feedback feels great with every shot, and each weapon has a unique feel and pattern. By the end of the game, if I had my eyes closed and I had to guess which gun I was shooting without any sound, I would be able to tell you which gun it is after the first shot. That's how unique and accurate the feedback is. Now, one thing I do want to warn you about is that this game does kill battery life because of how much it really uses that haptic feedback. If you're playing for 1, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, then it won't be an issue at all for you. For my gamers that play 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, even more, right? You will be rotating controllers on and off the charging station, or if you only have one, you will need to pause your game and let your controller charge, or just play with it wired. I have 2 DualSense controllers that I rotate on and off the charging station when I'm gaming for long sessions. The 3D audio is very impressive and immersive with the player and their surroundings. It allows the player to be aware of enemies that aren't in their field of view, and even what direction they're in, as well as attacks coming from off-screen. The environment sounds great, the enemies sound great, the guns sound great. The audio in this game is very polished and well done. The gameplay was outstanding in my opinion. Difficult at times, but outstanding nonetheless. The shooting takes a bit to get comfortable with because of the adaptive triggers. I assume this mechanic will be implemented more and more with the use of adaptive triggers, but after an hour or so I got used to it. After the third biome, it was completely automatic. Now, I did notice that the aim assist was a little generous and snapped some shots onto the enemy when I definitely should have missed. The default setting is medium, but even on low settings, it's a bit generous, in my opinion. So about an hour into the game, I actually went ahead and disabled the aim assist altogether and played through the entirety of the game without aim assist. There's a quick reload mechanic which complements the gameplay perfectly. As you get kills and your adrenaline increases, the quick reload window will also increase, making it easier to catch the timing of the window. There's also some other abilities you get as your adrenaline increases, such as enhanced vision, blade enhancer, etc. And using the melee blade made me feel like I was wielding an actual lightsaber. The way it felt through the haptic feedback, the sounds it made through the audio, it really felt like an actual lightsaber. You also unlock weapon traits when your weapon proficiency increases, which comes from weapon experience and collectibles. You don't get to keep your weapons when you die, but these traits will remain unlocked. When you die, you will return to Helios. This is called a cycle. Upon a new cycle, you will always start with a pistol. This is not too much of a problem though, as your starting weapon scales as you progress through the game, so you will always have a viable weapon. Although, in my opinion, it's much more fun to use the other weapons such as the Hollow Seeker, the Electro Pylon Driver, the Thermogenic Launcher, there's a bunch of different weapons for the player to use throughout the game. I don't really have a favorite weapon. They all have their uses. They can all be broken. I think certain weapons are better suited to certain biomes and enemy types, and that's something I really like about this game. Every weapon is viable and can be used from start to finish, but you will notice that certain weapons really destroy certain enemies, but then also feel less effective on other enemies. The world also shifts and changes every time you die. The rooms themselves don't change, however the layout of the world and where these rooms are on the map changes. After a while, you will memorize all of the rooms in the different biomes. It's cool because you can come up with your own little strategy for how you want to tackle the cycles. Some of the items and enemies in the room are RNG, however. If you're worried about starting all over from the beginning, there are xenotech devices called reconstructors, which allow you to spawn from the machine instead of the starting point. You can only use these once per cycle, however. There's artifacts you can obtain, consumables you can collect, and augments you can use to enhance your suit. You can randomly find these kinds of items in rooms, or buy them at a fabricator with obolites. You can get positive suit effects or have malfunctions which can be mended by meeting the specific requirement. Attaching parasites will give you a positive and also a negative effect. There's these tablets and inscriptions called xenoglyphs that provide information about the lore of Atropos. There's also xeno archives that visually present information about the history of the planet.
I've discovered a kind of technology that records the past, or a visual archive of sorts.
And much more. There's so much to this game, guys. It's ridiculous. Let's briefly talk about the graphics and performance. The game has lovely graphics. I believe the resolution is native 1080p upscale to 4K, but regardless, the graphics look great. I think Demon's Souls is still the most graphically impressive PlayStation 5 game in terms of straight texture quality, but Returnal has some beautiful architecture and world building that makes each biome feel special and memorable. The game runs at a stable 60 frames per second for like 90 to 95% of the time. However, there are occasional frame drops, and it usually happens when there's too much going on the screen or if I've left the game on rest mode for too long. I believe these are mostly stability issues and can be fixed with patches, however. I thought the enemies had great designs, very unique and memorable. I remember my first encounter with the Titan Ops almost shit on me. It was definitely a bit tense. The Severed gave me the most trouble overall. These motherfuckers were broken, and there's one room in Biome 5 where there's like 3 or 4 of them, as well as some drones and Kerberonics. It was absolute madness. I know you know what I'm talking about if you've played this game. The mini bosses were just a box of chocolates as well. Biome 3 and Biome 5 are the most difficult biomes in the game, in my opinion. My favorite enemies were the Trichozoids, because their sound with 3D audio is absolutely glorious. One specific sound in general. A little scary, but glorious. The bosses were great, and the highlights of their respective biomes. Everything you learned within that biome will come in handy when taking on the boss. Frike was fun. He was the first boss and made me smile because of the intensity and how much fun I was having.
The fog has dispersed.
From that fight, I knew all the rest of the boss fights were gonna be something special. Lots of fun and intense moments.
Let's go!
Some close calls.
Oh! Woo!
Something
Woo!
exalted.
The entire build-up and design of the biome leading up to Hyperion really gave me Shadow of the Colossus vibes. Actually, a few areas in the game reminded me of Shadow of the Colossus. For me, Ixion and Nemesis were the most difficult bosses. Hyperion was the easiest. All the bosses were memorable and all of them hold a special place in my heart. On to the positives. I really like the fact that there's no fall damage in this game. It really complements the gameplay. Although there's a certain malfunction that applies fall damage to your suit, the button responses and actions are very quick and sharp. Although there's no ability to save in the game, key gear and items you obtain stay with you upon a new cycle, making it easier to trek back through the biomes. I think the hit detection is great for the most part, as well as the dodge detection. Load times are fast and don't frustrate the player. A lot of times when you die as a player, you will get frustrated, and long load times make it even more frustrating because you want to hop right back into the action. Another thing I like about this game is you don't have to traverse each biome every single time you begin a new cycle. For instance, let's say you finally beat Biome 2's boss and make it to Biome 3 for the first time, but you end up dying. You will start back in Biome 1, but you don't have to go from Biome 1 to Biome 2, then from Biome 2 to Biome 3. You can go straight from Biome 1 to Biome 3 without having to go through Biome 2. I love the use of translocators. The proximity translocators feel really good on the DualSense. I love the map design in general. I recall a time where I was being attacked and went one direction and I thought it was a dead end, but I was able to wrap around and ended up killing that enemy. The game does a pretty good job of not leaving the player stuck in an area or out of bounds. Sometimes I found myself shit out of luck, but there were hook points to latch onto or something to jump on. In the snowy biome, Selene's suit actually gets covered with snow, which I thought was a nice attention to detail. Now for the negatives, I experienced a strange audio bug where the sound just straight up sounded like crunching and was just very unpleasant. This happened only about 3 times throughout my entire playthrough, but I was forced to close and reopen the game each time. One time the audio was bugging out and the performance was tanking so bad that it actually crashed my PS5 and wouldn't turn back on until I unplugged it and replugged the console. As I explained earlier, this could have been due to leaving the console on rest mode for too long a period, as whenever I fresh booted the game, I never experienced those issues. I wish the melee/jump melee was more commando lungy. You'll notice that when you melee a close enemy in your direction, the game will kind of snap the player to the target. However, sometimes this doesn't happen, and it's especially frustrating when there's an enemy just out of your jump range, but the game doesn't snap you up an inch to hit that enemy. Something like a forward or vertical slash would have been the perfect versatility to offset this issue. Also, if you have trouble seeing dark areas, consider turning up the brightness. With all of that being said, just what do I rate this game? Where do I rank Returnal? Let's go to the Zenkai Scale. This is my personal scale that I have developed with my experience over the years as a gamer. Exactly what metrics I use to determine a score, that's a secret for now. From 0 to 10, where do I put Returnal? Returnal is exactly an 8 out of 10. Superior game, superior project. In my opinion, the best PlayStation 5 exclusive currently on the market. Better than Demon's Souls, better than Miles Morales. If you can push your skills as a gamer and fight your way through this game, you're in for something truly special. I feel as if I'll be remembering this one for the entire generation. And I just want to give a big shout out to the team over at Housemarque. Incredible game, incredible effort. This team had a vision that they believed in and succeeded in sharing that vision with the community. This was also their first AAA project, so massive props for delivering something of this caliber. The team got it right with this one. Also, huge shout out to Sony for believing in and allowing this team to realize their vision. If this is how we're starting the generation, I'm so excited for what's in store for PlayStation's future, and I know you guys are too. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to see future content. You know what we say, playing Train. Game insane. I'm out, guys. Take care.